Hey guys, you're watching BTech. I'm Basil, and this is the Huawei P10 Plus. The Huawei P10 Plus announced at Mobile World Congress is €699 worth of smartphone. That's a lot of money for a Huawei phone. Huawei came into the scene because they were really hitting hard in the budget space. Now this is iPhone type price, but is it iPhone type build quality? Well, it's certainly iPhone type look and feel. If you get it in this version, this blasted metal version, it's available in a few variants, blasted metal, but also this hyper diamond cut finish, which looks really cool, and I really like it. So if you're gonna get one, shop around, look for the hyper diamond cut finish, because that's definitely the one that gets my vote. I'm going to talk more about this phone in a sec, but if you're not already subscribed to the channel, subscribe, because that's how you stay on top of everything we do. Right, if you can tell, I'm like quite tired. It's really late. It's like 4:16 a.m. and that's because I was out with work and then I came back and I have to return this phone in a few hours. I've had it for like over 72, like 80 something hours. So it's not like a 5 full day review like we'd normally try and do for you guys, but still, it's a pretty comprehensive review, and I've tested it like extensively, and you can see it's like got all of my own applications on here. Right, 5.5 inches of Quad HD display, around 7 millimeters thin. It's really gorgeous. It feels good in the hand. The like blasted metal version does feel more slender than an iPhone, but it isn't waterproof, so it has that disadvantage by comparison to an iPhone, but it has got better screen to bezel ratio. It has a fingerprint scanner below the display. You've got front speaker, 8 megapixel front camera. The rear camera array is a 20 and a 12 megapixel camera. The 12 megapixel camera has optical image stabilization and is an RGB sensor, whereas the 20 megapixel camera is black and white monochromatic, and it can take native monochrome pictures. Down at the base, you've got the speaker, the USB Type-C, and it has a 3.5mm headphone jack, so that's one advantage it always has over an iPhone. Stereo speakers, especially noticeable when in landscape mode, are perfect for gaming. The design does get a thumbs up. It really gets a thumbs up if you are playing with the kind of P10-like version. So it's kind of got a lenticular finish. It's like got like this hyper diamond cut finish, it's called. That's marketing jargon for really freaking sexy, and I definitely prefer this type. So like I said, if you are picking one up, shop around. What's really cool about these phones is they ship with cases, and they also ship with preloaded screen protectors as well. So you've got it protected from front and back if you do pick one up. Speaking of screens, 5.5 inches and it's Quad HD resolution, 534 pixels per inch. IPS display though, so not as punchy or poppy as the P9 Plus before it, but what you do get is more kind of accurate color representation. Jump into the settings and you can customize the white balance super heavily, so jump into color temperature. Now, Huawei screens have a tendency to be a little bit more blue than most screens, especially off angle, and this is the area you're going to want to compensate for that. There's also an eye kind of safety mode, so you can sleep well at night because of the blue light filter. And that's nice to have, and generally this is a really great screen. It's nice and sharp. Off angle, like I said, it can pick up a few blue hues, but it's just nice that it has a preloaded screen protector. The color accuracy is generally very good, and clarity above 500 pixels per inch. Seriously, you have nothing to complain about. I really like this phone. I like looking at it, I like using it, I like playing with it, and I wish I could play with it for longer, but I'm gonna have to give it back. So I really should jump into the user interface section of this review, and it's Android 7 with EmotionUI 5.1 over the top. Now, EmotionUI 5.1 has no applications tray by default, but if you jump into the settings, then you can very easily fire up the applications tray. Super easy. Just jump on the home screen style option and tap drawer, and you've got an applications tray. Me personally, I actually prefer Huawei's UI without an applications tray. It just feels a little bit more like it's meant to. I don't mind that it isn't stock Android, and I've had a lot of flack in this in the comments section in the past, but I don't really mind about that either, because this is my opinion, guys, and that's why you're watching this, right? Right. So it performs really smoothly. There are a couple of bugs. This isn't the final software, so I'm waiting for that to drop, but generally EmotionUI 5 is a huge advancement over EmotionUI 4. It's got the 2-tier notification tray quick toggle menu, and it's really nice to use. use. And you've also got app twins, so 2 instances of Facebook, 2 instances of WhatsApp. Yeah, I really like it. So massive thumbs up to Huawei for Emotion UI 5.1, an improvement over Emotion UI 5, which was on the Mate 9, which I really also liked. Also, it's got some smart machining in the background, which gets to know you the more you use it. And like, I've used the Mate 9 for a really long time and it didn't slow down much at all, especially when compared to other Android devices, which suggests that machine learning really does help. So super smart AI under the hood. So the cameras now, you've got a 20 megapixel and a 12 megapixel camera around the back, optical image stabilization, and on the front you've got an 8 megapixel camera. Now the 20 megapixel camera is a really smart Summorix or something lens. It's a Leica lens and it's better than the P10. It has a f1.8 aperture as well, so it's better in low light specifically. As for the front camera, you've got the same 8 megapixel snapper as we've seen on so many Huawei phones so far, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. As for the rear camera, back to the rear camera, it does perform better in low light than the P10. It exposes shots more than the Mate 9. Optical image stabilization, so the same core fundamental specs as the Mate 9, but that f1.8 aperture does make a difference. It exposes shots more, pulls a little bit more detail, but if you're a stickler for getting accurate exposure, it actually overexposes on occasions, which not everyone will like. So jump into the Pro mode. Anyone who hasn't used a Huawei camera before, jumping into Pro mode literally couldn't be easier. And I'm not paid by Huawei. I'm just saying this because I genuinely believe it. Just pull in from the bottom and you're in Pro mode. Couldn't be simpler. And then you can actually compensate for it. In fact, you don't even need to do that. There's a slider when you take a shot in automatic mode that lets you change the exposure. So just drop the exposure a little bit and then you'll end up with a slow shutter speed and a sharper shot. Video stabilization kicks in, which is great, in 4K as well, not just in full HD. So generally I love the camera on this phone. What's also cool is that the portrait mode works really nicely as well. The new improved portrait mode kind of blurs out the background and enhances everything so that faces look great. And of course you've got the standard aperture blur effect, which just makes everything look nice and poppy, blurry background, sharp foreground, and then you can retrospectively change it. As far as multimedia goes, it's not going to get any better than on this thing. You've got that 5.5-inch Quad HD display, which looks really good, but that Kirin 960 processor paired with 6 gigabytes of RAM is just stupendous. The Antutu benchmark is over 12,000. That isn't actually quite as good as the P10 because of the fact that it's maybe got a Quad HD display. Maybe it's not as optimized software, but 12,500 is not going to leave you wanting in terms of any performance as far as gameplay goes. Geekbench performance, however, was better than the rest. So this really does wipe the floor. Like I said, the Kirin 960, 6 gigabytes of RAM. You've also got 128 gigabytes of storage on this thing, as well as micro SD card expansion. It's just awesome across the board. You've also got a lot of connections on here. So it's a USB Type-C at the bottom, and you've got an infrared blaster on here too, which is obviously a TV remote control, and it's got all the software preloaded on board, and it also will work with PL Smart Remote, etc. With a 3,750 milliamp battery under the hood, it will also last full day, and it supports supercharge, so that's 50% in 30 minutes. I found it was relatively similar to that kind of claim, and so with the 3,750 milliamp cell, that's awesome. You easily get a really light day in half an hour of charge, and if you wanted to power this up to 100%, I'm a power user, it will last me a full day. I did prefer the Mate 9 battery, and in fact I prefer the Mate 9 in a couple of respects just because I really like the big 6-inch screen. But if 5.5 inches is more in line with what you're looking for and you want one of the best phones around that supports it, obviously the OnePlus 3T is the alternative, but this thing, it's really good. Hopefully you enjoyed this really quick overview of why I think this is a good phone. The review is kind of like calling it a review. So I have this like general thing. I don't like calling anything a review if it's under 5 full days. And this hasn't been 5 full days quite yet, but it's almost there. Let us know what you think in the comment section below of the Huawei P10 Plus. Yeah, if you like this video, click like, and obviously if you like the channel, subscribe. That's how you'll stay on top of everything that we do. And thank you everyone who was feeding back on what they wanted to hear about this phone. Oh, I didn't actually mention one thing. This isn't obviously waterproof, that's one thing. And the design, definitely shop around, get a like hyper diamond cut version if you can. I think I may have mentioned that, yeah. So if you did see my help me out. I'm a little bit tipsy and I need to record a video on this. You'll know that I am actually a little bit tipsy recording this video, but sleep is less important than getting you guys a review of this before I have to give it back in a few hours. Right, I should probably go sleep now. Bye.